Welcome to the Think Inspired podcast, Mr. Darcy Todd. I'm really excited to be interviewing you. You're the founder of Melbourne Social Events. Tell me a little bit more about how this all started.
The seed was planted a long time ago, actually. I used to run fitness boot camps, and it's actually incredibly difficult, as you know, being a PT yourself. Incredibly difficult, even just getting one-on-one clients, right? And so then when you're trying to train 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 people, all of a sudden you've got like, how do I get that many people together at once sort of thing? Basically, it comes from a stepping stone of working out, firstly, how to grow a fitness group. And I always had what if we could build it into like proper social sort of.
Was it more like a personal venture for you, or was it something that you wanted to grow as a business? Like, what was it?
Yeah, no, I always wanted to grow social events, but when I was living in my home city in Brisbane, there was already quite a lot, and the city's like good city, and there's a couple up and running, pumping. And I'd never thought I could do it, like all my friends there, my family's there, like it'd be very obvious to all of them. Like, this is honestly it. Like, I'd always wanted to do it, but I was like, man, if I started in Brisbane and all my friends see it, if it just fails, I'd be like, they won't. But in my head, I was like, I didn't want to fail in front of everyone. But when I moved to and I thought also, who am I? Like, I'm not a club promoter. I don't deserve to just take that title. Like, I'm just winging it. So, but when I moved to a new city, I was like, well, why not? Like, no one knows me. Let's just give it a crack.
Yeah. And like you mentioned that you were from Brisbane, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, myself as well. So in Melbourne, being in the most multicultural city in the world, and I think we were voted a few times one of the most livable cities in the world, like holding a social event, it made sense, but you still had a bit of fear thinking it might not work. How did you overcome that?
Oh, I literally just have the fear. So unfortunately, most times we're not even aware of our fear. So I hear it when I'm signing people up to gym. They'll say like, oh, I want to come, but I've done it before. So how do I know this program works? Or I want to tone up, but I don't want to get too muscly. You would have like heard that one. Or I just don't have time for it. What they're actually saying is subconsciously, what if I try this program, don't lose weight? Now I've trained, spent money, and I'm still not good enough. Best not to try. So we've all got like a fear. The bad thing is we're not aware of our fears most of the time. But for me, rejection's a massive one. Like, if I try to talk to someone and they're like, shut you down, like they don't want to know you, that sucks. And if you want to pull together a group of people, a room of people, there is a chance that like the whole room won't show up, and that's rejection on a grand scale. So that's why I put it off so long. I was like, oh, what if no one comes? That would suck.
Okay. And what was the pivotal moment for you to be like, you know what? Like, it's real. The fear is not going to go away. I'm just going to do it anyway. Like, what was that first action step for you to like pull the plug and just like go?
Yeah, no, I actually had my, as I said, my step into it for PT. So I didn't just start with social events. I was like, because I had so many one-on-one clients, like you get up at 5, you just crank the whole day, 6, 7, 8 o'clock, you just leave the gym and you're burnt out and you've stacked the whole day, but you can't progress any further than that. So the next step was like, all right, boot camps, I can train more people at once. But I wasn't actually very sure of myself. And so I didn't really want to tell a lot of people I was going to start a boot camp. So to ensure no one would know if I failed, I've actually told no one. And my first boot camp, can't fail if no one knows. And and I put it off. So I decided I was going to do it. And then I just waited an extra 4 weeks. I was like, I'll do it next week. I'll do it next week. I'll do it next week. And when I finally did it, one lady showed up. Like, I've actually told no one. One friend, she showed up. That was it. No one else.
Wow.
I was like, oh, and like I was devastated. But as luck would have it, it was actually this lady, Linda. Like, she's just a friend I've known for ages. She's the coolest mom. And she's like, don't like stop sulking. You're gonna train me regardless. I turned up. You're running a boot camp for me, and it's gonna be great. I'm like, yeah. So I ended up doing it. And my saving grace was like, I procrastinated. I took the smallest step to get started, basically failed. But on the way home, she posted up on the Facebook, great boot camp, love the exercise. It was amazing. Can't wait to come back next week, get more people. And she neglected to say on the post that she was the only one who showed up. So I was like, oh.
Wow. She was like your marketer and you didn't even realize it was.
Bro, I was highly likely that I would have literally given up if I didn't have that one person at that right time for encouragement.
How important is that? Like, during a very vulnerable stage of someone's life when they want to put something out there,
Yeah.
having that positivity or having that,
Mm,
person that's going to encourage you to take those steps when you're most vulnerable. I mean, like, confidence is doing something where you build a skill set where you can just act on autopilot, right? But
yeah.
especially at the beginning of any new venture, it's that like, oh man, like, I'm really vulnerable right now. Like, if someone hits me,
Yeah.
it's going to be hard to get up. How important is it for you to have, supportive people around you to like obviously you're the founder of the event, but having that community to actually, drive the ship with you?
No, that's incredibly important. So it's not the most important thing. I'd say it's the second most.
Yeah.
But you're right. When you're starting something or you're going, and a lot of people don't understand, they try and help you. So when I had some crazy ideas when I was a kid, I'm gonna be like a blacksmith or an armor, or say some dumb shit to my parents. They're like, no, you're gonna go to uni. Like, they don't mean to squash it. They're trying to say, I want you to do something secure because that's what they think.
Hmm.
But if you can have some people around you, like another of my mate comes to me with a crazy business idea, I say, bro, that's sick. Do it. Like, you can make it happen. Whatever they want. I'm going to run a marathon. I'm going to move overseas. I'm going to start a business. I'm going to get this course done. Whatever it is, mate, you can do it.
Yeah.
Do you think it's a good idea? Doesn't matter, bro. If you take action, you can make it happen. So I try to consciously, whenever someone comes to me, put the fire in them a bit, because yeah, sometimes that one person can make all the difference, whether you keep continuing or just give up.
So I was on your meetup event, and you got about 4,500 people in your social group right now.
Yep.
Okay. And like, how did that grow into that, one person from that boot camp spreading that message for you into 4,500 people in your events? Like, how did that happen?
That was a little bit of luck, a little bit of
Luck.
I cheated a little bit. By cheated, I mean, but this is actually the second meetup venture that I've had, because remember, I had that boot camp in Brisbane.
Mm-hmm.
So the biggest learning curve was going from that one person at boot camp to get into 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. Like, that was a big stretch for me to get to 7 people back in the day. But by the time I stopped and moved to Melbourne, I was actually starting from zero. Like, it's new city, didn't know anyone, starting from scratch. But what I had was I'd done it before in different cities. So I basically hit the ground running.
So why do people, come to your events? Why do people need, especially during a time like this where we feel so separated, and it's out of our control, why is it important to have like a social network? Why is it important to socialize outside of our, family or, work colleagues, like getting out there and coming to an event like yours?
It's important to socialize because your ability to connect with others dictates your entire scope in life. So if you can connect with someone else, you're going to have a partner, you're going to have love, happiness. If you can connect with your clients, you're going to have sales, you're going to be able to serve them, you're going to be able to have a good business, please your boss, be the boss. And if you can connect and look after your friends, that's going to dictate like your social circle, but it's also going to light up their life as well. So the ability to be social dictates, and I'm not saying I'm good at it or anything, I'm just saying it's important.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what it is. Because humans, the reason why most of our population lives in cities is where the only reason we came ahead of any other animal, right? The leopards, tigers, whatever, crocodiles, they're all bigger than us, faster than us, stronger than us, right? Humans are like, we sulk at the best of times, But the reason humans dominated is because from caveman time to now, we formed social groups, right? Formed tribes, formed clans, and we worked out a way to communicate with each other. So they're the only 2 things that we have going for us, plus the ability to plan ahead if you get really into it. So social connection is like one of the things. So it's actually a part of us. So you have to have that.
The people at home who are like, haven't been out maybe since before the pandemic that the idea of going out there and speaking to someone that they've never met before, like it's like huge anxiety for them. The idea of it just makes them want to like crawl up in a little ball. Like, what would you say to that person? How do they get out there and, you know, meet new people or feel like they're, you know, appropriate to come to an event like yours?
Well, firstly, if you've ever wanted to chat to someone, be it someone of the opposite sex, or we're just talking about making friends here, if you've ever felt that apprehension, firstly, it just means you're normal. So basically, going back to the caveman thing, we've only had cities for the last couple of hundred years now, a couple of thousand years maximum, right? So normally if you had your tribe of 50 people and your tribe of 50 came across another tribe of 50 people 10,000 years ago, probably wasn't a good thing. You might have traded, or you might have had spears, and it could have just been all out war. So basically, you would have already known everyone in your tribe. So firstly, there's no reason to make new friends because you already know that family. And secondly, when you come across this strange group, bad stuff went down so many times in our history that we literally got like a fear complex over it. So that's Mother Nature saying, strange group of people, proceed with caution. So that fear that you have has kept your ancestors alive to now. But today, when we go to a bar, a club, we don't carry spears. It's just outdated programming. And there is a way to overcome it. Just as like phones can have upgrades, so can you and your software that you are on. And the easiest way is just to start warm. So Olympic athletes, even at the top of the game, they still warm up. And so should you. So starting warm means go into a club in the tram on your phone. Bring your craziest mate. Just have a chat, get into that zone, chat, talk to him, having fun. Getting off the tram, someone else, oh man, this thing takes forever. Throw away a comment to a stranger. Oh yeah, this tram's going to say, I'm glad it's here. I missed the one the other day chasing at 3 blocks. Oh, that's hilarious. All right, we've talked to our mate. We've talked to someone on the tram. We're warmed up. We're ready, right? We'll walk into the club. There's a bouncer at the front. ID. Oh man, here it is. How good is it to be out again after all these lockdowns? How you find it tonight? It's freezing out here. Do you have to stand here all the time? Oh, bro, I'm dying out here. I've been working at this club 10 years. 10 years. They must look after you at this club. Oh, they do. I love it. I work here, rah, rah. We've warmed up the person on the tram, the person on the phone. We've warmed up the bouncer, right? One of the people in the line, they're also waiting. Can you work out this scanning thing? I can't. Oh, man. Do you remember when we just like to walk into places? You're telling me, bro, we're throwing out casual chats here. By the time I've stepped foot into this club, I've already got 5 conversations under my belt. I'm warmed up and I'm ready. So it's not that I can talk to other people, but it's that I know to keep going with it. Does that make sense?
So you're trying to build common ground with things that are actually real to me or the person that's going out to do this and the other person in front of it. And once you build that small talk and common ground, then it builds up your own confidence. And you talk about warming up like an athlete, you go do your stretches. The same thing with socializing. You got to warm up. It's not this extreme thing where you wake up and you have a whole bunch of friends, right?
I don't normally wake up with a whole bunch of friends, no. Yeah, exactly right, man. It's cool. Like once you're vibing, you're into that peak state. So we all get into different states. Sometimes you're in a happy state, a sad state, a confident state. The trick is like in sales or marketing or socializing, like I would say up to 90% of your results would be dictated by the state of mind that you're in at that time, if that makes sense.
So the beautiful thing about what you just said, at that time could be any time. So for anyone listening at home, it's not like you have this story about you and it's going to be there forever. You know, you can change your state, will eventually tell your story. I mean, you can't focus on 2 things at once. You can't feel fear and feel confidence at the same time, right?
I try not to.
I try not to. And
no,
for you,
that's exactly right.
And for you, because you're a wealth of knowledge when it comes to this space, no wonder, like, you know, you hold all these really successful events, especially even after COVID. You know, was it always like this for you? You seems like you're a wizard when it comes to socializing. So growing up was it a knack that you've had? Like, were you the popular kid at school?
Bro, I was not the popular kid at school. I'm probably just making up for lost time now. We're talking like, do you remember my greatest fear was getting up in front of the class, like to give a speech? Like I would literally, yeah, even like to be on a camera like this, it would just be like, my face would just be red, no eye contact, just sheer dread pitted in my stomach and my heart. That's what it'd be. Like, yeah, high school is not an easy time for me, bro. Not at all. And that translated into family life not being crash out either.
Yeah, tell us a bit more about that, because like, you know, coming from like a really like coming from high school and not feeling very sociable, or you know, the thought of like public speaking, like there is a stat out there, some people fear more of like public speaking than they would if they jump off a bridge. You know, some people would rather jump off a bridge than do public speaking. You know,
exactly.
how did you come from that? Like, what was that? No, actually, what was that time like for you?
Dude, it was pretty hectic. My parents are awesome. Everyone does the best that they can at the time, if that makes sense. At the time, it felt like my dad wanted to see a different lady more than he wanted to see us. So it felt like I might have not been wanted by him from 15 onwards. So I moved in with my mum and my stepdad.
Wow.
They did well. Like, they put us through private school. They bought us lots of stuff. My stepdad, like, I did have a lot of respect for him. He was like, he's a proper tradie, like hard-working dude with a business. But basically, I don't think my mum had the proper tools to deal with me, and she passed on a maybe not always constructive mindset to me as well. So probably for most of my teenage life, we just grated on each other to the point where I basically reached a breaking point just as I hit 20 and just told, just take your shit, leave now. So to this day, that stayed broken. Yeah.
So there was a point in your life where, you know, you hit 20 and then things had to change. You were forced into like kind of changing the direction of where you're going, right?
Yeah. Well, literally I was seeing this lady. I probably shouldn't have seen her, but as I said, got kicked out. I'd left the reg of my ute in my stepdad's name too. So they, for good measure, they sort of repossessed that one when I was at work. So I came back to no car, no house. So I had to like move in with that one. Not being able to like bounce off any family, plus having those no social skills from high school. So I was blaming the world a bit back then. So I was a bit in a downer. I crashed my car several times and lost most of my money to insurance back then too. And the kicker was probably this mood, this negative compounding of my mood just kept drawing all these negative experiences to me. And then my boss, it was a shopping center, it was a mall job, cutting keys at Mr. Minute. Even he sat me down and was like, mate, I don't need you, leave, you're fired.
Wow.
Like, just go. So
all that happened in that year?
Yeah, that was probably in the span about 6 months or something. So
wow. And like, was it at a time in your life where like everything and anything could go wrong?
It was like, from where this is like a long time. It's probably about 11 years back. But yeah, I was living with this lady, so I couldn't get out because I was stuck in her house, and I just felt like I had nowhere to go or nowhere basically to escape from this. So yeah, I had that. It was probably not a great time for me. Probably one of the worst. And then after about a month of just begging and applying for different jobs, I found a job. My turning point was actually this. I found a part-time job at JB Hi-Fi selling car audio. And basically, because I had a lot going wrong, but I love those big subwoofers and just rattle your car and put the amps in there, like light it up. Like I'd put like $3,000 worth of shit into a $2,000 car. So, you know, this little crap box I had to buy to have something to get me around in. Anyway, the turning point, you would think it would be due to that, but it wasn't. It was this job at JB Hi-Fi. And they would only take me on like 2, sometimes 3 days a week. Like I couldn't even get a full-time job. I was 21 and I couldn't even get a full-time job at a retail shop. And the boss sat me down 2 months in, like 8 weeks. And he was like, bro, red dot last week, red dot the week before, red dot. He's like, here's your budgets, man. You've missed every one. He's like, you got 2 weeks or you're out. And remember, I just lost another job. This is only part-time. And I'd tried so hard to even secure this position. So that was probably the lowest point.
So you had a win and then follow that little win of getting that job. It just kicked you down even more. Look, at this point, most people would throw in the towel and just call up Centrelink. So like, what was the catalyst? Because I know lots of people listening at home, they may be going through a really tough time right now where there's just so many losses, so many battles they're in, and they're just coming back from the battle, coming home with a bunch of arrows in them, and they just don't know how to recover from it. Like, how did you get over this hump in your life? And, obviously you did, to see where you are now, but like back then, what was that small little momentum that you had to get to where you are now?
It would have been so during that day, yeah, he sat me down and look, when the manager said that to me, he wasn't even being mean. It was matter of fact, right? He wasn't being mean. He's like, this is a situation. So it got me thinking that night. I was like, for the first time, instead of getting angry at the world, angry at my parents, angry at my situation, I was like, what if some of this has to do with me?
Wow.
So I stopped pointing it away and I pointed at myself. So
Powerful.
and yeah, I don't even know why. Like I used to waste time on computer games. I've gotten rid of all of them now. I used to be a gamer. And for some reason, instead of playing my computer game that night, I put an eBay, and this is my saving grace. I don't even know where it came from, but I just pumped into the keyboard book on how to sell.
Mm.
And I'd say that was the single most pivotal point of my entire life.
Why is learning how to sell the pivotal point in your life? Like, what does that give you?
At the time, I literally thought it was just to learn how to sell, because you're in a sales job, you're going to be fired if you don't sell more. The logical explanation is sell more. How do you sell more? Learn how. But what came up was titles like you had Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy, Tom Hopkins, Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, just all the greats, right? And they had like books on sales, selling, persuasion techniques like neurolinguistic programming. And I hate reading, used to hate reading, couldn't get through a whole page or a paragraph, so I had to force myself. But the realization came was from the guys to get good at selling. It's not that they're good at selling, it's that they're confident, it's that they help people, it's that they're on a journey. And if you can improve that aspect of your life, a lot of other aspects will start falling into place as well for you, including like confidence, your drive, your mission, your motivation. You'll build this positive momentum. So yeah, that's
So for people that are, going through some some tough times, was it reading that book and then pointing this to yourself in the mirror saying, no, I can change this. I want to take back control of this vehicle and be the
yeah.
driver of my own life, as opposed to, pointing out to external problems and have this why me mentality that a lot of people get into? Was it simply as putting in new information in your mind to allow you to think differently? Is that what you thought had happened back then?
100%. So firstly, and we're all entitled to our own opinions. Secondly, everywhere way everyone sees the world is different. So when you look at something, you see it different to someone else. And because of that, no one's personality is right or wrong. However, a common theme across all these books or studies on happiness or people's satisfaction in life is the degree to which they believe they're in control of their circumstances.
Yeah.
So I take the belief that I'm 100% in control, not 90, not 50, 100% in control of my life and my circumstances. So I would take that as far as if I'm driving on the right side of the road following the speed limit and a guy cuts across 3 lanes, he's drunk and he T-bones me after he drove over an island, I would still say, well, I chose to buy a car. I chose to drive. I know that driving is dangerous. Oh, this guy came out of nowhere. There you go. But who put themselves in the road? Who turned on the ignition? Who bought that car? So if I'm, for my sales job, if I'm calling leads and the lead's like, go away, you're useless, don't want to talk to you anymore. If I go to the manager and say, look, your leads are rubbish, right? Is that true? Well, at that point in time, maybe that person didn't want to chat, right? But I believe that if I pick it up at the right time, like, does that mean that angry person has never had something sold to them before? Does that mean that angry person has 0 needs? Does that mean if that angry person, by the way, if someone's angry, something's not going right in their life, so chances are they're in emotional state. When someone's emotional, they're more likely to buy. So they're already halfway there. Maybe I just haven't found the right pain yet. So I would never blame it on the economy, the leads, the situation. I would take it on myself.
And for that, that's very respectable of you to, wholeheartedly take responsibilities of, you know, the pain that you have, the wins that you have. Now, in developing that, you know, you would probably be pretty hard on yourself, right? How do
That's the
you,
next argument.
yeah, and like, how do you
That's the
develop
next
that?
argument.
How do you develop that self-love? You know, I think that's a really big thing that, you know, not just the world, but like men don't actually speak about, you know, being really
Mm.
hard on yourself, taking responsibility, no excuses, I'll get it done. You know, how do you give yourself that love to, like, you know, be okay with making mistakes, and then moving on from it?
Yeah, that's like a two-part. So the first one is the argument that I encounter a lot of times from other people, or the perspective from other people. They're
Mm,
like, look, if you've got, and I would translate as far as say, look, if I talk to a girl and she blows me off, it's not, oh, she's being a bitch. It's, I said something the wrong way. I didn't dress nice enough. I didn't portray enough confidence. I wasn't sure enough in myself. Right. And they'd be like, but there's two people. Surely it's 50-50 each way. But if you come in it with the 100% belief that that whole interaction was your fault, you're making, yeah, you're right. You do take that responsibility on. But how would you feel sitting there right now if I told you, this is how much longer you can talk for? You can have the light on. Tomorrow you have to do this. 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, you got to do this. Like, as soon as you lose control of your life, as soon as your boss micromanages you, as soon as we go into lockdown, we feel sadder. Why? Because we've had our choice and our control taken away. So sadness or depression actually comes from loss of control. Happiness, empowerment, and confidence actually comes from taking back that control, right? So yeah, you could argue the CEO of a company has a lot more responsibility and therefore a lot more responsibility. Oh, wouldn't that like mount up? But they've done studies and CEO is actually less stressed than the guy on the assembly line at Amazon just packing stuff as fast as he can. Those guys who don't control, they're told when to have their 15-minute break. They're told what to do. They're told this. They've actually got higher levels of anxiety. They live less long, right?
yeah.
Yes, it's more responsibility, but anyone takes control actually takes back the power for their life as well.
Mm. Okay, so for anyone that's listening now who feel like they're out of control in their life, what are some simple steps for them, you know, practical steps for them to like, and they don't, maybe 5, 10, maybe never have ever felt like they were in control. How do they go
Mm.
from that to like, okay, I got to learn how to drive this car now. How do I take driving lessons? Like, because I don't know how to do it.
Yeah, so, and that could extend like right now, because a lot of people, and I myself, like, it's easy to feel down. Do you mean like you feel like you're not in control of those emotions? You're feeling down. Could be this lockdown time as well.
Mm,
And look, I'm depressed, or I've got depression. You can hear some people say, and at that time, yes, they are feeling sad. But firstly, just realize it's not a bad thing. If the body's hungry, it doesn't mean you've failed as a person. It just means your body's saying, "Wait, bro, let's grab a burger. I'm starving over here. If I don't eat, I might die." So if your body didn't give you that hunger response, right, you would
mm,
literally not eat. You'd run out of energy, and eventually you would die. So at the same time, when your body gives you a sad response, it's not saying, "I hate you, just feel sad." Your body's like, "Bro, what you're doing at this moment in time isn't what we're designed for.
mm,
Here's some sadness, and I will take this sadness away once you sort that out."
mm,
But it's like with your hand on the oven, you know, put my hand on a hot oven. Your body doesn't give you pain receptors because it hates you. It's trying to take your hand off the oven.
mm,
So taking back control, you got to realize, and it is hard. It is the hardest thing. Like climbing Everest would be easier,
mm,
but it's possible. So taking back control is right now, just think of like a red apple. Now think of a tree. Now think of a purple elephant.
mm,
So if you thought of any one of those things, that means you're in control of what you think.
mm,
So instead of thinking that I'm sad, today sucks, maybe it does, but that's in control as well. Just think today's good. I'm
mm.
happy. I'm confident. I'm alert. All right. And if you can repeat that enough, if you can take the steps, you already know what makes you feel good: staying fit, eating healthy, talking to friends, being social, having a good life, progressing towards a career or a cause that you deem worthy that also helps other people, right? So you're in control of that.
Very powerful. And that's something that you do on a consistent basis. Like, what happens if you stray? And like, is it a ritual that you do every morning? Is that something that, you know, you put into practice?
Mm. I myself are guilty of not doing a good job at this. So throughout when I first started getting When I first started learning how to talk to people like years ago, or how to maybe get the attention of some girls or build something where you get a group of people around you, I would accidentally use that external source for an internal feeling of fulfillment. And I still do to a point these days.
And
The
touch on that.
trick
What do you
is,
mean by that?
well, we all grab something. So we all try and do something to feel good. I feel lonely. I'll get on Tinder and find someone, got a girl, right?
Mm.
But it rarely solves the problem. The reason you're single or feeling lonely, maybe, what have you done all day? Oh, I slept into 10 o'clock. I got up. It's lockdown. Haven't done anything today. Now I feel lonely. Now I pick up Tinder. So already I've seen like a whole list of stuff that we got to get online first. Did you get up early? Did you go for a run? Did you eat healthy? Have you contacted friends? Have you taken action on some small goals that is going to move you towards your purpose? And then by 10 a.m., when the other person wakes up, you're already firing on cloud nine, right? You've got this state. And then if you did choose to connect with someone, you can hit it at a whole new level.
That's powerful.
But the most important thing, as you say, is it a ritual? It absolutely must be. Do you have to go to work every day? Well, you should. If you don't, right, you won't go broke the next day. But if you skip a week of work, a month of work, a year of work, 2 years of work, where will you end up at the end of that, right? You don't have to brush your teeth every day. It's probably better for conversations if you do. And you won't lose your teeth at the 2-week mark, at the 5-week mark. But continued habits, either good or bad, lead us to these places. So if you're like, oh, but then I have to pump myself up every day, or you have to shower every day, you have to like brush your teeth every day, why shouldn't like maintaining a positive attitude be like part of that ritual as well?
And it's probably the quality of questions that you ask yourself. I mean, if you wake up in the day and asking yourself, like, why me? Maybe I'll never have friends, or maybe like I'm just an introvert and lockdown is the reason why I'm like this. What am I going to do? It's you're saying, no, you're in control. Even if you have to pump yourself up and make those phone calls that you don't want to make, it's your responsibility to make those phone calls. No one's going to call you.
Yep. Unfortunately, like there are good people, but you can't leave your happiness up to them. And that's what Tony Robbins said. The quality of your life, that's like directly from him, is up to the quality of the questions you ask. Because the human mind, there's no inherent right or wrong like ways to see the world. Remember, by the way, there's more productive viewpoints to have for achieving certain goals. So, but as you say, the human mind answers whatever you throw at it. So you're like, why am I so happy today? Right? Oh man, today's good. What other good stuff's going to happen? You're like, oh, this is coming up. I ordered this in the mail and Amazon's going to drop off my supplements and whatever else. And I said I'd meet my mate in the park, the Savo. That's going to be cool. But if you ask your mind, like, why do I suck? Why does this keep happening to me? It'll be like, wait, bro, 3 years ago, you got blown off by someone. Remember 6 years ago, you tried this job and it didn't work out. And I'll be like, oh, and you got fired from this other job 8 years ago as well, right? So it'll just retrieve, your mind retrieves whatever files you ask for it. If you say, oh, can I have a heap of negative files? It'll be like, no worries. But if you say, can I have a heap of happy, empowering, positive files? It'll pull them out for you too.
And it's not easy, right? Like just because.
Oh, no, definitely not. It's like, it's the worst.
Yeah, making yourself happy, like it's hard. Like you have to do that on a consistent basis. And we mentioned, being social, like it's picking up that phone and calling those people. It's like we said, it's your responsibility. Now, for you, like in someone in lockdown right now, like who do they call? Like, are they meant to be calling who? How can you give these people some action steps to like improve their social confidence, like in a place of lockdown right now?
There's 2 steps to getting to where you want. The first step is lighting yourself up. So it doesn't matter if I gave you the winning formula to making millions of dollars on the stock market. If you don't believe in yourself, that won't garnish you anything, right? So the first step is lighting yourself up. So that's just realizing that you're okay as you are and taking those small steps, doing those things to light yourself up. The second thing to actually achieving any goal, so any goal we have, and people come to you all the time, Patrick, oh man, I haven't been to gym in, like when they'd come to you for a consultation and be like, oh, I've been to gym in 20 years, I've got 30 kilos to lose, but look, the doctors just told me I got diabetes, so motivation is high. I'm going to train 6 days a week. I'm going to keep all my meals clean. I'm going to come like all the time. I'm going to do 1-hour sessions. Where's that person going to be in 3 days' time? They would have given up, right? even though they had a really good goal and really good intention. And the reason why they give up, it might not even be that. It's like, right, today sucks at work, but I'm going to start a new business, or I'm going to go apply for another job. I'm going to travel. I'm going to see the world. I'm going to like find this group, right? Whatever they've got. And then they'll be like, oh, but I don't know how. And I just need a bit more resource, and I don't have enough money. And this other guy is going to be my business partner, but he's busy for now. But next month, we're just going to start hustling first next month. Not yet. But in 1 week's time, we're going to get straight on that tomorrow. That never, ever comes. And the reason is because the goal's too big. So the trick is, instead of trying to smash something that big, smash it like the smallest little possible conceivable step. So it's literally cool from the book, The 1% Rule. It's a very, very motivating read. So he says, whatever you want to do. So I myself writing a book, and I put that off like 6 years.
Yeah, wow.
And I'm still not done. But what I've done recently as of late is I'm like, right, my goal is literally write for 3 minutes a day. That's it.
Wow.
My meditation goal is meditate for 1 minute. My affirmation goal is write one affirmation. I never stop at one, but it's so inconceivably easy that my mind won't fight me about taking action on such a small step.
It's like slaying the beast when it's real small, as opposed to making it something that's not even possible to deal with. Like if we catch it when it's small, we're probably more likely to get it done.
Yeah, exactly. Like this lady came to me at gym once, said the whole thing, 6 days a week, going to lose 30 kilos, whatever. I'm like, lofty goals, do it. You can do it. You are capable of it. And some people can. But I said, in this instance, I just want you to come in here 2 times a week for 5 minutes on that treadmill. And I want you to just go home. And she was like, looked at me like, oh, I can do more than that. You know, 5 minutes won't even burn any calories, right? Yeah. I was like, I know. The 5 minutes, I promise you, won't get you fit. But we're not working on your muscles right now. Something far more important is your mind. And time flies, right? We've been through Christmas, been through last lockdowns, got through this 2 weeks already, right? In a snap of the fingers, it's going to be 2 weeks' time, a month's time. Can you imagine if that same lady did that 2 walks a week for that week? Came in the next week, 2 more walks. The next week, third week, 2 more walks. 4 weeks later, she comes in, 4 little 5-minute walks, right? Now all of a sudden she's changed something. She's feeling, I've got something, I've achieved it. I am a person who comes into gym. It's not this big scary thing. I don't have to sweat out for 3 hours. Maybe I'll step it up to 10 minutes. And what if she drinks 1 less drink of alcohol, smokes 1 less cigarette, right? So all I've done is put the steps in line. And as the next month goes past, 6 months, 12 months, 12 months is going to pass regardless of what we do, by the way. We're going to have the same conversation a year. We're just going to be 12 months older. So we can be 12 months older and richer and more successful and happier and more fulfilled. Or it can be 12 months older and we haven't done anything. The time's passing regardless. So time doesn't matter as a factor because it passes regardless. But I guarantee if she took those small steps, she'd get towards that goal.
Yeah, and it's way more sustainable, right?
Yeah.
Wow, you're a wealth of knowledge when it comes to, you know, mindset coaching and getting people to take action and, you know, taking those small baby steps that actually matter on a like a larger scale of, as in time, as opposed to thinking you can achieve so much in small time. Why not play the long game? Okay, so we're going to reach a segment called rapid fire questions. So what I want you to do, Darcy, is 1 word or 1 short sentence that is the first thing that comes to your mind. Okay.
All right, go.
All right, first question. 1 lesson you feel that helps you most throughout your career?
Working out that law of attraction is real.
The law of attraction is real. Beautiful. Number 2, if you can create a law that everybody had to follow, what would that be?
I would say everyone has to get up and start the day with 1 positive action. It would solve so many of our problems.
Beautiful. 1 positive action to start the morning.
That's right for them. It could be meditation, could be yoga, could be a run, could be like a jog, could be having like 1 healthy smoothie. But it's like that military book, like, you know, like Make Your Bed.
Yes.
The reason why, like, our military is fairly important. If it fails, literally everyone dies. So it ranks up there on the importance scale, right? And the first thing they drill into anyone, I'm not from the military, but the first thing they drill into them is like, get their uniform, all the details, make their bed. And the reason why you start with something, and it's pretty easy too, the reason why they start with something positive, something small, remember? So small goal, positive, but first thing in the morning, is it sets every other little thing in the right thing.
Wow.
So then they can go on, once they've hit the ground rolling, right? Then they can achieve whatever they want from there. And days add up, by the way. They add up and they compound.
Yeah. So your winning attitude in the morning just by making your bed. I like it. Number 3, what is something that you know to be true that many people disagree with you on?
I would go back to law of attraction again. So it's just, I can't believe it, you know? Most people would agree to the point where you'd say, look, if I relate everything back to sales because, you know, that's what I do. So if you walked into a sales situation and you had this first mindset, oh man, today sucks. They probably won't buy. It's too expensive. The climate's bad. There's bad downturn in the economy, right? And I meet this prospective client. What are my chances of closing them? Now, if I meet the next client half an hour later and you just rang me up, gave me some good news, bro, this happened, we're famous now, got a bunch of cash, today's your day, and I just walk in pumped, then everything's going right? So I think we can agree that your mood dictates what your result's going to be, but it goes a step deeper. Like, have you ever thought of a friend or an acquaintance you might not have seen for a while, and then you get a text message from them and you're like, holy shit, I haven't spoken to that person 3, 6, 12 months, and they just messaged, called, whatever, when I thought about them. So there's a way that it connects, right? We connect to other people, and this part's where I'm going to lose everyone, but it's so important. If you read any book on success or biographies, they don't do it intentionally, but they all see this goal having already materialized, and then somehow they just sort of end up there.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay. What is the biggest lesson you learned in the last 12 months?
Biggest lesson I learned? Oh, easy done. And probably the one I should have learned first. So that's to fill yourself internally, not externally. And that is thanks to good old lockdowns.
Yeah.
So the mood, your demeanor, your confidence level, it can't be dictated upon your circumstances or what other people are giving to you or aren't giving to you. So you have to be able to generate. It's like the worst thing in the world, but once you nail this, everything else will line up for you. So that's what I learned. Like, you got to, I'm not saying I'm great at it. I'm actually rather terrible at it. But what I've learned is you should generate this from within in yourself, right? Without needing bouncing off a million other people to get it there.
Beautiful. Last question. Who are your sources for inspiration and someone who inspires others?
My sources from inspiration are countless. So everybody, even people you pass in the street, they've had a life experience, so they've all got something to teach you. The OGs, like the guys on top, are Les Brown comes straight to mind because I've read his book again yesterday. So famous American motivational speaker, was adopted, became a sanitation worker. It was listed that he was like being borderline retarded in school, right? But like he became like a DJ, got on TV, he ran for state or something, like got into politics, became a motivational speaker, best-selling author. So but like they've all got the same story. So you got him, Tony Robbins, obviously, he's an awesome one. Really good one, Bedros Keuilian. I don't know if you found him. Have you found his stuff?
No, I've not heard of that guy, but I've heard
of the OG. So you're in gyms as well, man. So he was like, I think it was like Russian immigrant or something into the United States. Like, his dad literally dipped him into dumpster bins at the back of the shops just to get the yesterday's thrown out bread and stuff. Like, that's where he started from. And he just had this hunger, this drive, and created this fitness empire. He's got like whatever it is, like 5,000 gyms under him now, something ridiculous, this franchise. But they're all good. And a common theme around all my idols, like, or even the biographies, so Phil Knight from Nike, Jeff Bezos from Amazon, Steve Jobs, like, they create some lofty stuff. But if you dig into this story, they've all come from a crazy place. Jeff Bezos adopted, his parents didn't want him and he was going away, like he channeled this. Like Oprah, she was like kicked out, had like basically molested as a kid, really bad upbringing, right? And she was actually kicked out of a radio station. You're not good enough, you're not like creative enough to be on broadcasting. But they've all shared these crazy stories and they're just pushed ahead and like achieved regardless.
Yeah, beautiful. There's some big names you dropped there. Darcy, thank you so much for being on my podcast, Think Inspire. I know that lots of people at home, especially the ones, you know, who are struggling to get out there and socialize and, you know, meet new people, or realize that they have friends right now. They just have to pick up the phone and call. Yeah, and it's their responsibility to do so. I think someone's going to listen to this and really take action, which is great. So yeah, thank you so much, Darcy, for joining us.
Bro, absolute pleasure chatting, man.
I know I'll have you back on, but yeah. So how do people get in contact with, you know, Melbourne Social Events? Like, what's the next event you have lined up?
Well, fingers crossed it's this Friday. I don't know to what capacity. We're gonna have to wait for the restrictions easing for that one. Instagram at Melbourne Social Events, or Melbourne Social Events on Facebook are the two bigger ones. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Awesome. Thank you so much again, man.